Hello, good evening. Just gonna adjust my lighting in here. A little bit of sunshine coming in the window. Just adjusting my camera. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Hello. How's everybody doing? This is what we're painting tonight. Welcome. Let me know if you can see and hear me and the lighting is good, all that fun stuff. Welcome to my page. I am Megan from Painting with Megan, and I'm so excited to have everybody here tonight to paint along with me. This is what we're painting this evening. Bring it up close. So this is good for beginners as well, so no worries there. I'll be breaking this down step by step. Sometimes, looking at the end result is kind of like, oh my gosh, but when you break it down into parts, that's the way to go. That's what I'm here for. We're gonna have a great evening. I want to say happy Friday, but it's not Friday, it is Thursday. Feels like this week has went by like kind of quick. It's almost like a day has just disappeared. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that way. But yeah, hope everybody's having a great week so far. So I have a cup of water, some paper towel. I'm using a 12 by 12 canvas. So that's what's behind me. And for my brushes, I have just a variety here. So this one here is a Filbert brush. This is a flat. This is a flat. This is just some brush that's kind of has frayed bristles. It's also kind of flat. I think it's called a deer foot brush, to be exact. And then another tiny Filbert. So just a good variety is fine. Don't worry if you don't have these exact paintings, paintbrushes here, because I have created paintings using just this brush. So, so let me know if you're having a different type of brush and you're unsure if it'll work. Just maybe write it down below. Oh, and say hi. Just maybe put in the comments like hello. Maybe say where you're from. Just to make sure that this is working down below. So then if there's any questions along the way, feel free to put them below. And of course, let me know if I'm going like too fast or if you need anything, just write it there. Oh, and I see a heart. Yay. Okay. So it is working. Good, good, good. Hi. Welcome again. Welcome back if you've been watching me for a while, or welcome if you're brand new. So I'm just going to wait like another minute here. I'll just go over the paint and then we'll go ahead and we'll get started. So I also have a paper plate as my palette tonight. Hi, Aurelia. Very cool. I'm in Listowel, Ontario. Okay, so I'm using Liquitex Basics brand acrylic paints this evening. So I have black, Mars black. Again, if you don't have the exact colors, it's cool. I have titanium white. I have Cadmium Red medium hue. I also have deep green permanent. Oh, Fort McMurray, Alberta. Very cool. Welcome. And then I have Cadmium Yellow medium hue. I have some family that's in Alberta. Okay. So, I'm ready to start when you are. Just give me hearts or thumbs up and we'll go ahead. Oh, hi, Izzy. A little bit. So I'm going to put this one above me just so you can still see it. I might actually just take it down for the first step because I don't want to get paint on it, but I will be putting it back up here and there just so you can see it. So I'm going to be recreating something along the lines of that because art is all original, so it will be very similar and I'll get to have two paintings. I like the two side-by-side paintings. It's always fun to make where you have two of the same ones on the wall. All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm gonna get out my white paint and I'm gonna put that on my palette. Is anybody here a brand new beginner? Haven't painted since kindergarten, maybe? So I have white out. And I'm just gonna use my flat brush if you have that. So something like this or like this is totally fine. Okay. And I'm gonna wet that brush, give a little tap on my cup, tap my napkin, and then dip into my white. So I'm coating both sides of my brush here. Just like that. Very cool. So people all over, I love how we're all here connecting together. All right, so we are just going to start with white. We're gonna warm up our hands, prime the canvas, and start our first step. So we are gonna go halfway down our canvas here, and we're gonna be going back and forth with some white. So we're just gonna go back and forth, just warming up our hands and getting used to the brush. The way I'm holding the brush is I kind of like made like a peace sign, and then I'm right-handed, so I put it like that, and then I tuck my thumb over here. So maybe you hold it like that, maybe you don't, but whatever works for you. Sometimes people are curious, how am I holding the brush? So that is how. Sometimes I didn't even think about that, so it's good to help become aware of that. And yeah, it's very cool. So I'm just gonna go back and forth here, and I'm putting on a fair bit of paint, so I am dipping in white and then doing like, say, like a little row here and then dipping in more white. So I'm going to be going through this whole thing and probably adding more. So just so you know, I am a thick painter. That's how I work. It really works best with acrylics to have a little bit of thicker paint. And by that meaning it's just I'm applying more on my canvas than just thinly, because when it's wet and it's applied thick on, then it's going to help you later on with the blending process. So I'm just refreshing my white here. Okay, so just going back and forth, and again, halfway. You're not really gonna probably see mine too good, but just coat the paint on there. So again, I'm dipping. So this first half is going to be the sky, and then we'll work on the bottom after. It's kind of be in sections. Okay, so I kind of want, again, up here, just to make sure it's still wet. All right, so let me know how that's going for you. Maybe just do your hearts, thumbs up, or just type I'm ready, and that will let me know that you're good to go here. I'm just putting this, I'm like soaking this on, so. The wetter it is, the easier it'll be for blending. Cool. So I'm gonna get out red, and I'm not gonna worry about cleaning this brush yet. So I'll just kind of put it to the side. So I'm getting out my red here. Oh, thank you, Judy. Yes, I posted a video earlier of the finished product of a commission piece that I got. It was a photograph from Nova Scotia. The client had originally, had just come back from a trip from there, and it was just so pretty to see that, and I would love to go there, so maybe one day. But it's just so cool to paint beautiful memories for people of their like journeys and their travels throughout nature. Okay, so I'm just going to clean off my brush now, actually. So I'll clean off that large brush. And then I just kind of tap it on my napkin there, as you might see in the bottom corner. All right, so yes, it is wet, and that's good. So now we're going to be dipping in the red with both sides of the brush. Okay. I don't know where to put this palette, it's huge. Yes, one day. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you the sky as a reference here. So As you can see, it is red, but it's like slightly pink. So that's why we're gonna put the red right onto the white that's here that's already wet. And we may or may not do a second coat. We're just kind of assess that when we get there, but I am going to be putting it on thickly so I can get the more vibrant colors. Okay, so I'm still using that flat brush. So now I'm going to go from one side to the other and just go back and forth like so, kind of like swishing my way across. So just doing that and applying that. It's going to look a little choppy at first. But once I've made my way across, then that's when I go back and then go back again, and that blends it. So I'll keep doing that so you can see that. So once I finish like a section, then I just take more red, and as you can see, I have like a fair bit of paint on here. So I'm just gonna go again, just kind of swishing, just like so. Swish, swish, swish. And then once I've done that, as you see that looks choppier, then I would just go from one edge of the canvas to the other, and again, maybe even again, right? And you can go up to the other areas if you would like. You're just softening it, blending it. Yeah, so let me know how that's going. That's how I blend. That's how I'll be blending throughout this painting. I'm just going to get more red out. Sometimes I put out way too much paint, and then sometimes I put out too little. So I haven't found that happy medium yet. Okay, so just put more red on. And again, it's pretty thick on there. So we're going to go down with the red. Probably another row here, I don't know. I have about, let's say, 4 fingers with my little pinky here. So I'll just do a little bit more. About here would be good. If you went down a little more, it's totally fine. Don't worry. It doesn't have to be exact. So there we go. I'm just going to blend that up again. Just making sure it's all looking smooth and even. You might see little streaks here and there, and that's cool because it looks like clouds. Good evening. Yeah, of course. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So that's what we're painting. This will be on replay too, but so far I've covered the first half of my canvas with white thickly, and then I have used white after I cleaned my brush, and used the red after I cleaned my brush with the white on it, and then I went back and forth to about, it's basically like my hand size, but a little less because it's like my pinky and then 3 fingers. So yeah, if you wanted to catch up, you can, and if not, it'll be on replay. Oh, hi, Jessie. Sorry, my name's Megan. Before you paint. Yeah, sometimes I like to watch first too if I do a tutorial. I take lessons too sometimes. It's always good to keep learning. So I'm just putting more red on here just because I want this area to be wet. So maybe just do that quickly there. And we're going to need yellow on the palette. Since I just applied red here, I'm actually just going to put that right on there and go up. And as you can see, this is already starting to dry. So I'm just using red. And then I'm just working my way up. Just to give that up and down here, swishing back and forth. Just to make sure that it's still wet. But yes, it will be on replay. Yeah, I agree. It's nice to take your own pace sometimes, right? Okay, so we are going to get out some yellow. And this is when we're not going to worry about cleaning our brush. So I just put out some yellow on my palette. Oh, that's okay. No worries. I know there's so many out there. I love it. I take lessons too, and yeah, it's just always good to keep learning. And everybody has their own way of teaching, and we all have our own way of learning, so it's just so cool. All right, so not cleaning that off. I got yellow out, and I'm just going to dip into yellow here. Okay, and I'm kind of just mixing in whatever's left on my brush to here. And as you can see, it's kind of like a peachish color. So whatever red was left here, I just kind of applied, or you can just even take a little bit of red and add it in if you didn't have much left. Just looking for an orange, kind of more of a bright, vibrant orange. That's what I got there. So I'll just show you there. So I got that loaded up on my brush. And now that's when I'm gonna go from this point to the halfway. All right, but where I'm gonna go first is I'm going to apply it right onto a little bit of the red. So I go over it. Instead of going under the red, I went on it so that it still looked like it was transitioning and it wasn't looking like it was, here's red, pinkish area, and then here's yellow. You want it to look smooth and transition towards the bottom. Okay, so kind of just mixing in like whatever yellow's left here and just applying that so it got a little bit brighter. And that's cool. This is very like, you can have it brighter, you can have more orangey here. This is just the base behind it because as you see, there's like this really cool like sun moon, I call it. And then there's some clouds that we'll put on top of that later as well. Tip for that too, to make a nice circle, you could use like say a roll of tape, and that could be, or like a jar or something if you wanted a circle. I freehanded this. I don't know how I did that, but that's just a little tip if you weren't comfortable with doing that. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue down. As I get down here more, I'm just gonna use more just yellow, okay? But whatever's left in my brush is going to come out. So now I'm just dipping in yellow here. And I did have some like orangish red on my brush. I didn't clean it, so it kind of just came off, and that's great. So it should look down here like a yellowish orange. Oh my goodness. And then because I can see in my camera that here's like lighter and then it got darker, I'm just going to take some of my orange and just help that transition. So you might want to step back from yours and just see, you know, like if it's looking like it's all blending in together. And like, don't be afraid to just go up and down, like from here, and don't be afraid to like go way up here. Because then it looks cool. And then you get a little bit of red down here. I'm gonna make this a little darker orange. Pretty colors in the sky. Just have fun with it. All of ours are gonna look unique and beautiful in their own ways. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that because I want to keep touching it, but I shouldn't. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, so now I'll put that brush in the water. So that's our background sky. So we're gonna want that to dry just a little bit before we do put the other sun moon in, I'll call it. And we're gonna work on the ground. So I'll just show you the reference there. Let me know if you have any questions so far, or if you need help. I wish through the live that we could send pictures, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, so I'm still going to use the flat brush. I'm just cleaning it off. Okay, so you're going to need some red, and you'll need some black and green out now. Thank you. So I'm putting red, some green. Yes, there's green in this painting. Doesn't look like it, but there is a little bit. And, sorry, red, green, and black. Okay, I'm gonna change my YouTube music because I don't know what's playing. Let's see. Just put on some jazz. I love jazz when I paint. Okay. Sorry, the music, like sometimes when there's certain music playing, it can be like a distraction. So sometimes I like to paint with music. Sometimes I like no music. Sometimes I like podcasts. Sometimes I like to just be outside in nature and hear all the surroundings. Okay, so that's what I have on my palette. So red, black, and green. And then we're going to work on the bottom. So I'm going to use a flat brush. So as you can see up here, there is a tree line that will go in later on. So we're just going to be working on the ground here with this brighter red tone. And then we'll start to build up in the background with these bushes and these background trees. So first I'm just going to start with just red. So I'm just dipping into red with that flat brush. Yeah, of course. So yes, I love that. I'm so open to you customizing. This is your art. Like if you are feeling like you want to change something or change a color or add or take away something, feel free. I love it. And then you have to show me a picture of that. Okay, so I'm just going to take my red and I'm just going to go underneath now because here it doesn't matter what it looks like in between because there's trees. So if it looks choppy, that's cool. So I'm just applying the red the same way that I did this sky. I'm still blending it across, but I'm just being a little more loose about it. Up there, we had applied white to help make it look smooth, whereas down here, it's looking a little bit more choppy because it's the ground. So, so the ground was like just really, really bright dirt to me. I was just going off a whim on this painting, honestly. And it's kind of more of like a mythical type painting that I made here where there's like this misty like area up here and then it transitioned like, so this could be water, but the way I was seeing it is just bright like dirt. So if you want to change it, you're more than welcome. Yeah, I'm just having fun. Sometimes I paint things like, and I don't really have, I'm not going off anything. I just go in within my head and paint that. So I'm just starting by painting this whole area red, just to start. So we have some color underneath to work with. So just kind of put that on there and just make sure you just go back and forth time to time and apply that red. And down here will be bushes, so it doesn't overly matter. This is the area that matters most. This will be bush and that will be trees. I'm just getting some more red out. Okay, so I'm just going to leave like the very bottom just with the white because I know there'll be bush there. And if you went down there, that's fine too. Okay. So that's that section there with just red. So let me know how you're doing. I'm not going to clean my brush here. And I'm going to be applying a little bit of kind of greenish in the ground here once we do the trees and stuff. It'll change the tone too. It'll almost make it look like a brown up in here as well. Okay. But before we do any trees, we're going to want to place in our sun moon. So feel free to grab like a tape roll, or if you want a freehand like I'm doing, whatever makes you feel comfortable to make a circle. I do have it larger as well. So as you can see, it's a little bit bigger. You are welcome to make it smaller if you like. There's no right or wrong. I'm going to use my Filbert brush to do this because it's already round edge, so it kind of works to my advantage to make a circle. And I'm just getting out more white. My palette is here. Okay, so I have this fresh brush. Oh, pretty. Oh, it's going to look so cool in watercolor. I'm not going to worry about wetting this brush. If you did, just dry it off a bit. It's okay if it's like a little bit damp. I'm just going to tap into my white. Okay. We're going to definitely need more coats of this. So I have my right about here. Okay, and I'm just kind of measuring for my own sake up here. So that's about the size that it is. Okay, and it's in the center. So I always kind of start like just by tapping in the middle, like where it's going to be. And it will get a little bit of like the background color, and that's fine. So now from there, I usually just start to twirl my brush like this and let it grow that way. You can do that, or you can slowly make your way around. And I always go back to the center and fill it in. So I think this got big because I kept trying to make the perfect circle, but then it turned out good after all. So that's also why the clouds help too. So say you don't have like a perfect circle, these create the illusion and kind of cover something up if needed. So I'm just going to keep going around, taking my time, catching some color, and that's okay. Maybe your background's dry. Depends on the room temperature too. Acrylics do dry quickly, but sometimes they don't. Sorry if I'm blocking it. I feel like I just have to be closer to this to get more of a rounded circle. I'm just gonna... Let me back up. So I'm getting big. I'm gonna do a quick measure for myself. Oh, pretty exact. Okay, so that's about the size that the original is. And I'm just gonna start to apply a little more white on it. If you put it on a little thicker, it helps. Now it's just the battle of keeping the circle. How's yours going? I'll show you how to smoothen it out too in a minute, because there's going to be a bunch of like kind of brush lines in it. I'm sure that could be potentially what's happening. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to stick with that. That's going to be my size. So if you do have like kind of streakiness, what I do for that is I usually just take another brush that's dry and I just gently start to like blend it in a little bit. And as it dries too, then you can do a second coat, and it always works better the second coat. So this is what I'm doing to just help with some of the lines that could potentially be there. Lines like brush strokes. Okay. Or sometimes I use my fingers. Okay, that time it did make it look better. Definitely gonna need a second coat though. Okay, there, I'm gonna stop with that. Okay. So while it's, before we do the trees, I just want to add a little bit of red kind of clouds just underneath, because as you can see, there's trees here. And I don't really want to like, get any sort of black into the moon, sun later. So we'll just do that now underneath just to prevent that from happening. So I'm just cleaning off one of my brushes. And it's okay if it's wet. I'm going to use the Filbert brush. I'm just taking some red here, just on my brush. And all I'm doing for clouds is I'm just going to be kind of doing this motion here where I'm like flicking And just very gently, just slowly kind of pulling out a little bit of cloud here. So I try to make it a different shape. I don't, so I'll bring it closer just so you can see. So as you see, they're just little lines, but I made sure they weren't all the same. So kind of started off with like a little line, and then I got a little bit longer, and then longer, and then a little shorter, maybe a little shorter again. And there will be trees here later too, so some of these may be covered. They're just in the distance. So just put a little more red on my brush. I'm just going to again do this motion, a little bit maybe higher than this one, and just kind of pull it out, starting from in that center area, or on the edge of the sun moon. I laugh because I give things such weird names. So just adding a little more red. You can pull this one out further, like just have fun, let your hand guide you. I'm just wiping my brush on my paper towel. Okay, so it's not in the water, just on the paper towel. And I'm gonna get out some yellow. So I have this brush, it had red on it. I just wiped it on my paper towel. And then if there's a little bit left, that's okay. And I'm just gonna dip into some yellow here, both sides of the brush. And I'm going to go around, around these clouds. Just kind of on the tops, even into the middle a little bit. Again, just let yourself put wherever you feel. They're very random. And just add a little bit of this yellow and it'll mix and become a little bit of an orange here and there, which is awesome. You know what? I'm just going to pull this one out a bit more that way. There. So how are these clouds going for you? Maybe I will put one just kind of right on the bottom. So now my perfect circle doesn't even matter. Putting a little red here. Red or orange, whatever you feel. I'm just putting it at the very bottom. There will be trees over here later, as I've said. But there. I can't wait to see it in the watercolor. I've been wanting to start painting with watercolors. I used them a long time ago, and then I just got into acrylics. I think I'll try something out in watercolor soon. I always just look back, like I hold it back and try to see a different perspective of it. That always helps. Okay, so I'm just putting this back up here. So that's the bottom area. As for the top here, if you just wipe your brush off again, instead of cleaning it in the water, I'm just wiping it. And the reason being is because I want my brush to be drier than wet. And it's wet, yes, because there's paint, but it's not like extra wet because there isn't extra water on there. So it won't thin out your paint. So now with the rest, I'm just going to tap into some white here, both sides. And I'm just going to now kind of touch up some of my area, even if it's a little wet still, just because I know that I'm still going to get some on if I put it on a little thicker. And this is not going to be ever exact white. Just like my original, there is some orange and yellows in there. But if it's really wet, then you might have to wait. As long as those bottom clouds are good there. And then if I go near the cloud, what I do is I just use my finger or even a brush and I just pull that back to where the white was and it transitions it. Okay, so we'll work on more clouds up there. We'll let that dry a bit and see if we can tap in a little more white later. So we'll just go ahead and we'll go and work on these trees here in the bushes. So I'm just putting my brushes in the water that I'm not using. So I'm going to get out this brush here that's a little bit frayed because that works nice for trees and bushes. So something along the lines of that. I have a smaller brush. I'll show you some other suggestions if you don't have something. So I have like something like that, maybe not gigantic. This one's really frayed, but it works good for trees and bushes. I have something like this, just anything like that. So it's gonna be good. Let me know if you don't. Yeah, of course, you can watch this later. So as soon as I'm done the live, it'll be posted on my page. Alright, so we are going to dip our brush, not in water, but in paint. I'm just starting with black here. And I'm going to be tapping. Okay, so I'm tapping the black, and I'm going to tap a little bit of my green over and tap in that black into my green. So basically making a dark green. Mostly black with a little bit of green. So it still looks pretty black to you. As long as there's a faint touch of green, that's all that matters. It gives it a nice tone later when it's dried. Okay, so I'm going to be working on the background trees. So I'm going to start on my right hand side over here. And I'm going to be working in this area here because I want to hide that now. And I'm just going to be just tapping, okay? So all I'm doing is tapping. I'm going to be filling in this white area and tapping my way up a bit and down. And I'm just tapping along. So I'll show you up close so you can see better what I'm doing. It's crazy how tapping can make these trees. I'm amazed every time. So you can tap holding the brush like this, like flat, or you could tap on an angle. Like you can hold it like this and then tap inwards. You can change it up, whatever way works for you. Let the brush make the trees for you. The trick is going back into other areas too helps. And if you don't have like a whole lot of paint, that can make like the thinner tops here. So say I wanted something like that, I would just tap out a little bit on my paper towel and then I can just pull these ones upwards, and that I can, with less paint, it creates that look. So I can just connect that tree there. Plus the brush itself, because it's bristly, it'll naturally create these. We're going to be doing this all the way across as well. So I do have green and black mixed. I'm trying to bring it closer for you to see. Okay, so as you get closer to the center, you're going to want to make sure that obviously you cover anything that's showing in between if there is for you. And you're going to go up a little bit into the clouds so it pushes them behind the trees along the horizon line. And then yeah, just take your time going across, and if you want that look at the top, then just wipe off some of the paint and it will create thinner trees. And then how I do it too is I do keep it very close together. As you can see, it's all together. Like you can do spaces, like there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just how I do it. So whatever feels right for you. So I'm just gonna put this over here just because I'm gonna end up dropping it. Just have fun. Tap, tap, tap. If you feel like it's blobs, take some paint off. Take some paint off your brush and then go to the blob area that you feel you may have and then tap it outwards away from the blob area. Or if you're all the way across, then maybe wipe that brush off and then just move some of it upwards. Okay? And that should help. I'm just trying to think of all the situations that could happen because I'm not with you in person. I'm not going to be able to see exactly what you're doing, of course. But I just try to pretend like I'm there and think about the scenarios that could be happening. And that's also based off past experiences. So yeah, I kind of made it a little higher in the ends, but then in the middle I made them shorter. You can make one tall here, like it really doesn't matter. I'm probably going to extend some of these ones. So as long as you're covering the white and you've went up a little bit into these clouds, then you are good. I'm just going to wipe some of the black off. And I'll work on some of the tops just to make them a little bit thinner. Okay, that's what I got there. So let me know how you're doing. I'm just going to wipe off my brush just a little bit here, and anything underneath these trees. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be kind of scraping it downwards a bit to make shadows and, you know, bumps and hills and whatever else could be in this field. So I'm just going to go underneath and just start to scrape. As you can see, it's here, that it sounds like scratchy. I just wipe off paint and pull whatever's down. All right, and I'll just kind of show you what that looks like later on. I'll just put this back up. I'm just afraid I'll get paint on it. If you have a taller area, then you can scrape a little bit down here too. So I'm just dry brushing. So now that I've gone across like this, just pulling it down. Maybe not every area, but just here and there. You could even come down here in a random area and just literally dry brush some black. I know it's going to look a little strange right now. Just think of them as random lines. We are going to apply some paint there so it doesn't look so like bold in the ground. It's just something there to show that there's some hills or bumps, just different variation in the ground. It's very random. Okay, so how'd your trees go? Good, good, good. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that brush to the side, not cleaning it. I'm gonna get my Filbert out again. So that's mine, the brush I'm gonna be using. I'm just gonna take some red here, and I'm just going to apply on top of some of these shadow areas, just very like loosely. Not worrying about going back and forth here. I'm just kind of loosely applying some red on top of these black areas. I know it seems counterproductive, but this is to take away the boldness from what is there. Okay, and it softens it a little bit so you're not like, oh my gosh, super black. I'm even putting some red right under here where that black was. There we go. Every now and then I kind of swish it. You can swish an area. When I mean swish, I'm just doing this. And that helps, again, to soften it a bit. The ground is going to be a little more rough looking. It is the ground. It's going to look weird right now without trees and all sorts of stuff, right? But this is just an underlying layer of what is there. And then once we put trees and stuff later, it will make more sense. Okay. So as you can see, because I put red on top, it's now not standing out as much. And it looks like it's ready for other things. So I'm just putting that back in the water. So let me know where you are. I don't know if I went too fast there or anything. So sometimes I get excited and continue. I'm just going to take a smaller brush here with some white, and I'm just going to see how my sun moon's doing and just start to apply a little white in some spots if it's needing it. Just to make it a little bit brighter. Maybe yours doesn't need it, maybe it does. Still a little wet. I'm just fixing the cloud there. So sometimes if you tap and then blend, it helps too. So it might be still too wet, but I think that's about as a brightness that I want it to be, because I'm still going to be putting clouds here anyways. So I'm not going to like focus too much on it. Like, I just wanted to try to put a little bit more white on there, but maybe you don't need that. And it looks pretty bright in the screen, so. Okay. Got a little touch up there. What we are going to do is we're going to work on these bottom bushes now. And then we will come back up and add in the clouds, and then we'll work on the trees. These trees. I'm sure you guys are doing great. I hope you're learning lots and having fun. And yeah, I hope to see the pictures afterwards. It'll be super cool. Alright, so let me know if you're ready. And we're still going to need black and green out. And I have this brush that I put to the side. I'm now taking it back out. And I'm not wetting that, so I'm just going to tap into my black and green here. We're going to work on the bottom. So now my bushes are going to be, so these are a little bit smaller because they're in the distance, but these down here are going to be a little bit thicker. Okay, so as you can see, like these are a little bit wider than here. So you just look at yours and then you can see how big your bushes need to be. So I'm just going to probably put mine to about here. Just kind of marking that out. It's the same as these, except for now you're just making it bigger. So you're just going to tap. You're going to keep them random. Okay, so I'm using it just like this on the canvas. And I'm just tapping. And I'm keeping it pretty random here. Like, I'm not gonna make it all one shape. You could start that way. You could make it all one shape and then grow some areas up so it looks different. But I usually just go up and down as I go along, not thinking about it too much. I'm just letting my hand do what it wants. Sometimes I go back over here, and I keep it all kind of filled in. Just tap. If you want like that loose look at the top, just wipe some of it off and go on the very edge, and you can make it look a little thinner at the top. Just check and see, make sure you're not doing some sort of pattern in your bushes. Keep it random. I'm surprised that my painting didn't fall down yet, because I am just tapping away. Of course, I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to move this because I'm going to end up knocking it over anytime, so. Okay, I'm going to move this up a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to have to, I'm just doing the bottom here. I just have to hold it, so you might not be able to see it as clearly, just because I won't be able to get the edge without doing this. Just go to the bottom. As you can see, I'm just, now this is a good angle for you to see what I'm doing. What kind of brush is this? This one's like, I think it's called a deer foot. Let me see, did it say? Oh yeah, that's right. It's a 3/8 deer foot. But like I said, you can use just any frill brush. Like I can get the same look with this here. This is just some really old paintbrush that I would use on my wall. Again, I don't wet these kind of things, and I can use this brush. I can do the same thing. So you don't need a fancy brush to do this technique. It's actually better if you have an old brush that you don't like anymore. So, see that? Same thing. Same look. So. You're welcome. I just need more black. Since I have this brush, I'm just gonna use it to fill in the rest because it's nice and big, so it covers more surface area. Okay, so I'm just making sure that it's not a pattern. So I see that, you know, it's a little bit higher. Kind of looks like I made a hill here. That's just how it went. So that's cool. Okay, so I'll put that brush in the water. Won't need that one. So now we're just going to want to lighten some of this. So it's very black. So now I just want to highlight these a little bit to catch the light, because there is quite a lot of light in the sky. So I'm just going to not clean this in water. I'm just going to wipe it off. Okay, just getting off some of that extra paint on my paper towel. Stencil brush, yeah. I don't see why I wouldn't. You could experiment, get like a piece of paper or something out and just do that tapping. See how it looks before you apply it to your canvas, because I would hate for that not to work. So just test it out first. Okay, so we're going to work on highlighting some of these. So it's still the same technique, but now we're just going to use a different color. So I'm going to take some of my yellow. Okay, just got some yellow here, and I had wiped off my brush. But there was still a little bit of black in it, which is fine. But look what color it made. It made like a green. Okay, so I just had black on that brush, wiped it off. Not so it's exactly clean, but just enough. And took out just some yellow and tapped it in the yellow. And that's what I'm going to use. So now underneath here, I'm going to start to highlight some of these trees. I'm just growing them up a bit. If it's not showing, just get some more yellow. There we go. So yeah, I'll bring this closer to you, just so you can see. So as you can see, it's just getting a little brighter on the tops. And I do go up and down a little bit too. Just going on the top of my trees that I made. You don't have to do it on every exact inch and you don't have to cover it perfectly. Just as long as you're putting it near the top, that's fine. Doesn't have to be where the tree is, like exactly. You don't have to make it the same shape. As long as you can show that it's a little bit brighter there, that's all that matters. These are so far away anyways, and they're not going to be the main focus once the other trees are there. Okay, so highlighting a lot underneath of that area. I'm also going to go across over here too, just a little bit. Maybe I won't cover every single section. And just kind of highlight a little bit of these areas. Just because there's still going to be light over there. Just not as much as underneath. That was an accident. I was gonna say, if it's underneath the moon sun, I'm just gonna make it a little bit more yellow there. Just so it's different from across the other areas. You don't want to take away your dark either. Like I got one a little bit too much. So then I just had to put black there and then repeat. So if you ended up like losing your black completely, just put your black back underneath, black with a mix of a little bit of green. Okay, and then just put that back if you need to. That's if you ended up losing all of the color. Okay, so that's what it looks like there. So as you can see, it is brighter underneath of the sun moon, but as you get further back, I did highlight over here, but it's just not as much as like underneath. So the bush area, I'm just going to use that yellow and whatever, maybe add a tad of black to it. So if I put my yellow on my plate, and just like a dab of black and then into yellow. I'm going to be highlighting all of the bushes at the bottom as well, on the tops. Let me just follow that. So this time I am going to go all the way across. It will be a little brighter, kind of underneath the same idea here. I just usually take this and I just use the same amount of paint across the whole thing. And that seems to do me well. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Of course you can, Tracy. You know, work night. I'm just highlighting. And again, you don't have to have it in the exact spot as the other bushes were. If you end up making a new bush area, that's cool too. Okay, so that should be good. So I'm not gonna put that brush in the water because it just comes in so useful if you need to do like a touch up for anything like this. Just check yours, make sure it doesn't look like a box down here or anything like that. If it does, just move up any area. Okay, so I just put that to the side. I didn't put it in water. Okay, so that's what we have so far. We'll take a break from the black and green and we'll go back up to those beautiful oranges and reds, pinks, back in the sky here, and we'll do the rest of those clouds. And then what we'll do is we'll work on those other trees. These ones here. So I'm just going to get out my Filbert brush. Maybe if you have a smaller Filbert brush, like how I have this smaller one. Dropped it. so you're gonna need your red and yellow out. Make sure you have a clean brush. You don't want any black in the sky. Okay. So I just have a smaller Filbert brush, and I'm just gonna tap some red and some yellow, mix it together, make some orange. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do that swishing motion. So I'm going to kind of in this section, I already have that yellowish orange. So that's where I'm going to put those type of clouds, and I'm going to put some redder pink ones up there. Okay, so I'm just going to do this motion where I just pull outwards. So I'm not going to worry about the white anymore because as you can see, I'm just going to be covering it anyways. So as long as it looks like it's not completely white, and so I'll just show you what I'm talking about. It's white enough, but you can still see like there's a bit of kind of background, and that's good because it's not going to be exactly white. So I'm just doing that motion where I'm just going to pull. Sometimes I like to just literally swing my brush. I just do this and let it move around for me. I'm just pulling that out just to match the way that we did the sky. The sky was in this direction. I'm just putting them, so I put kind of two here in the middle, like there's no right or wrong way. I'm just letting my hand do what it wants to. Just listen to your body. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do up there. And then I'm gonna add just a tad of like red to my orange to make it darker, and then a little white. So I'm just matching my colors here. So I'm just doing a little more red. That's more of a pink color. There we go. So you don't want to go like too crazy with it or anything either, because you'll end up losing it and you can't really get back the moon sun, so. Just putting a little red definition somewhere in between these ones. And I just want to soften it as well. So I'll show you how you can do that. Right now it looks a little choppy, but we're going to soften it to blend it with the rest of the sky a bit. So I'll just take my flat brush. Once you've applied all the clouds, let me know if you need a minute. It's all good if you do. I'll just get up the flat brush. I'm just wiping it off with some water and making sure. So I'm gonna just make sure it's clean, and then I dried it a bit. All right. So I'm just using that wet, more so damp brush to do this with just a clean flat brush here, and I'm just going to gently pull out the cloud just a little bit. So I'll bring it closer and you can see it's going to help soften it. Okay, I'm just using that little bit of dampness on my brush. It helps it soften and smoothen back into the background. You can go down here too. Even though it's dry, it'll still catch it a bit. So that's it there. So now it's more softened. It's a lot softer than like standing out. I mean, if you liked it like that, like there's nothing wrong with that, of course. So whatever you like. I end up losing a tad of color, so I just would put it back. Just be patient with yourself. Anywhere else that you see? Paint will get on there here and there, that's fine. Just use that damp brush and you can just even kind of pull it and soften it out here if you have any clouds out there. Funny what water will do. Every time I dip in water, I do dry it on my paper towel a little bit. And then I just kind of go back and forth in some of the areas. I only do it really lightly so I don't end up losing the cloud. It just helps to blend it in just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to stop with that because I don't want to get it over. I don't want to take away the clouds. So you can see what it looks like when it dries, of course, and you could potentially add on top. Sometimes they do need a second coat, which I'm thinking this area might. So I'm just going to take my orange here actually and just kind of, yeah, there we go. A little bit of playing around in the sky. So I just put some orange there just because I felt that that's what it needed. With some paint there. There. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Let me know if you have questions, of course. Let me know when you're ready to work on the trees. We are going to need a smaller brush here to make some tree branches. So you want something a little bit thinner that you can find. So that's what I'm going to use. And then I'm going to start on a tree. So I will wet this brush. I'm going to use some black. That's way too wet. So I have some black on the smaller brush here. I'm going to make a baby tree in the background. So I have this one. So I'm going to place that somewhere. So I have my moon, sun, and I'm going to place it right here. I'm just going to go for it. So it's going to be a little V. Okay. So I made a V somewhere around this area. So I'll hold it back. It's somewhere off-centered. Can be mine's to the left, yours can be to the right. Doesn't matter. That's where I placed that one. Oh no, you ended up missing it. Alright, yeah, you let me know how it goes and send me a picture when you're done. Okay, so I have my V up there. Now, do you still have that brush that was off to the side here that was kind of frailed? I'm just going to dip that and tap that into black, and we're going to be tapping along here to make our leaves. So I'm just going to go on the very top. So I have a V, but I'm going to fill that area in above it. So imagine a line there. Okay, so it looks like an upside down triangle right now. But all I'm going to be doing is tapping on that top part. Just a little bit. There we go. There's my first tree. That's how we're going to always do the leaves. We're going to use 2 brushes here as we go along for the tree. If you still have yellow, take that brush and just tap it directly into yellow. And you're going to want to highlight. So we're going to be highlighting as we go. You're going to want to highlight at least the side, the half that's closer to the light. I don't know if you can see that, but just a little bit of a highlight is great. Try to bring it up for you. So now that I have that, I'm going to wipe off my small brush and just use a little bit of white if you have it out. I'm going to highlight. This is good practice for the big ones. I'm going to highlight on the one half of my branch that's closer to the light and just put a little bit of the white on that. If you lose the black, which I kind of did over here, you just put it back. It's very tiny in that space, so. So I'm just highlighting just the side of it. So not the whole branch itself, just like the edge of it that's closer to the light. And that's the kind of technique that I'll be doing for all of the trees, but just in a larger scale. Okay, so I'm gonna do this side first. We're gonna do the larger tree first because we can do this. Our bravery test here, right? So we got this large tree. That's what it looks like in the distance. So it's higher, a little bit higher than our sun area. So it's gonna go to about up here. I'm gonna start it about here. Somewhere around there is good. I'll mark it out for you. So I'm going to use my thinner brush to do that. I'm going to think, okay, where's my base? Right about here. I'm going to grow that upwards. So I'm going to use a little bit of water and mix it with my black just so it becomes thinner so I can move it easier. So I can move the paint a lot easier that way. And I'm going to start growing my tree. So my tree is going to become a Y first. So I'm just going to grow that to about here. And I'm going to start to make a Y. And I'm going to use a little water with my black again, just mixing it around, because this is how I can get it thinner. Okay, and I just use the very tip of the brush. I use the very tip of it lightly, and I just slowly start to go to the top, and then I just flick at the end. So I'll just, as I let go of the pressure, I just flick. So I'm going, and then I flick. So water really helps get that effect. And I'm just going to make this area now thicker because that's supporting a tree. The tree branches. So the bottom of this tree needs to be thicker. All right, so let me know where you're at. We're gonna do a couple little branches on here. You might not be able to see your tree in this one part, but we will once we highlight it, so don't worry. Okay, so now randomly, I'm just going to make branches here. So all I think of branches as are just a bunch of V's, continuous V's on V's on V's. So I just use a very edge and lightly applied pressure, and I just pull out a branch so that I made a V. See what I mean? And then on here, do again, another V. So get the smallest brush that you can, the thinnest brush. That will definitely assist. And use some water, like I said, dip in water, stir it in with your black paint. Not a lot of water, just a bit, enough so that it does thin it out for you, so then you can be able to pull it around a little easier. And every time that you're on an end with something, you just do a little flick, like that. I'm making another one. I'm just gonna thicken that. So sometimes you can just do a straight or an angled line. Then you can always put a V on there. I'm gonna make one that goes upwards. Just have fun with it. Maybe I'll make one here, here. Okay, I'm gonna say that's good because usually you do the leaves and then you end up losing your branches anyways. Sometimes, some of them. So that's why I'm not going to worry about it too much, because I'm going to put the leaves on and then we can look at it and then we could always add a branch where the leaves are already. And I find that's a lot easier. So don't worry too much about where your branches are, and because you're not going to know until you start tapping on your leaves. So we'll just leave it at that. Underneath, we're going to make a shadow. So there's my light source. I'm going to make the shadow be going to my right behind the tree. So all I'm doing for that is I'm just going to swish it down over here just a little bit. Think of it like a root coming out. It's just a shadow. And then I would just take my finger and just break it up. And there's my shadow. So one on the opposite side of the light. And then I use my finger. And that took off some of the thickness. Okay, around the tree I'm just going to kind of tap a little bit of, think of them as little grasses. So I'm just using the brush that I have and I'm just kind of tapping, creating like little, you can do like, you can pull out some grass if you wanted to. Okay, doesn't have to go all the way, doesn't have to go way over here or anything. It's all up to you. I usually make the underneath straight. And I just kind of use my finger and make it so it doesn't stand out as much. We could always put a little red there. You can just use a different brush and just put a little red, like how we did up here if it's looking like too much. Just use a little red on top of anything that you did, and then that'll help push it in to the background again. I made a mistake there, so if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just fixing it. Okay. Well, let's put our leaves in first and then we'll highlight. You can get out some green. Okay, green. Make sure you have some black still. We're going to use that tappy brush that we've been using this whole time. So I'm mixing some green in with my black. Okay, and I'm going to be tapping along up here in my trees. So I'm not going to think about where my branch is. Yes, I will, but I can go away from them as well. I don't need to be exactly on it because like I said, we could always add a branch later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be tapping on the top, and then I'm going to be tapping back and forth. So I'll try to show you a little bit closer. I don't know if this helps, but I can use like the edge of it even. So instead of tapping it like this, I can go like this and tap. So I'm just tapping back and forth. So I'm going to use the same amount of paint I can. And as you can see, I'm going into the middle of my tree. I'm going on top of branches. I might lose one. This is why I was like, don't worry too much, because you might end up losing them anyways. So I'm just tapping back and forth like the way we did this. And I'm just tapping back and forth. I'm using that same amount of paint throughout this whole tree. You can always go back up here again if I needed to, or if there's an area that looks like a blob, wipe your brush off and move it up or across, give it some different look. So that's that tree. I might move a little bit down here too. So if there's an area that you're seeing to try to balance it out, you could always add a branch there if you needed to. Okay, so I'm going to stop at that one. All we have to do for that tree is highlight it. And this is great practice because then you're going to be on the hang for the other tree. And if you only want one, you're welcome to do one. You want 5 or 6, go ahead. So I'm just going to use this smaller brush. Just kind of wiped it off here, cleaned it off a bit. Some water, and then I'm going to take some white. Where's my white at? Okay, so I just have some white here on my brush. But I'm going to wipe off some on my napkin because I just don't want a lot of white paint on my brush. I don't want it to look like snow or something. So, oh, hi. Are you using the deer foot for the tree foliage? Yes, I am. I've been using that for the bushes, the trees, and up here. This brush is pretty cool. But like I said, you can use the frilled ones as well. Even something like this would create that look. Okay, so now I'm just going to highlight it. So I have a little bit of white on my brush. And I'm going to highlight the side closest to the light. So I'm just going to go on the edge. I'm just working my way up here. Just going very lightly. And I don't like go on every single branch or anything. Just anywhere that you can like tell it's just a thicker area of branch, then you can apply that. Most of the time you won't see up in here too much anyways. Just makes a huge difference with the highlight. Yeah, it's pretty cool brush. I do enjoy it, that's for sure. And what I'm gonna do here on the thickest part of the tree, so anywhere that you did on like the edge here, you have a little bit of that white. You can just pull it out into the middle. And it'll look like bark. You can even do that up here too. You have that little white area, you just want to pull it out a little bit. That way you don't lose your black, but it looks like there's some bark texture going on. We will highlight up here too. Just a little bit. I'm going to wipe off that black from that brush, my deer foot. And I'm just tapping into direct yellow because there is black on my brush. It'll create like this yellowish green color, which is cool. Another way to make green apparently. And you can just highlight some of the edging here. That's closer to the light. Do a little bit in the middle. Basically, you can highlight any edge. So think of where your section is, your foliage areas, and then use it to think of the edge of it and then highlight it. Just a little bit. Just to give it something. Yeah, that's all dry. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to still put this brush off to the side. I don't wet it because I find if you wet those deer foots, they don't work the same. All right, so how did that tree go? We're going to go on to the other one. I'm just getting up some fresh black here. I'm going to plan this out so we got through this one and that one. And now we're going to go over here. So sometimes people are like, get nervous about the trees, but then once we kind of get in the hang of them, then they're good. So just give me a thumbs up or hearts. Let me know where you are or if you need anything. I'll have to make a live, I'll have to plan another live soon for you guys, because I don't have one planned yet, but I do want to do one in October. I like to do one at least once a month, every month. I'm also working on a couple of commissions currently, and I have some private events that I'm also doing, so I have been a busy gal. I'm so grateful. Okay, but I will get one planned out soon enough, and as well as a Zoom where you can meet me and talk with me, and then I can meet you and talk with you and see you and be able to help you that much more. Okay, so let's go on to the other tree. So my other tree is taller than this one, shorter than that one, and somewhere around here. So there it is there. So as you can see, taller, shorter, really small. You're so welcome, Kim. Okay, so I'm going to do the last tree, and that will be it. And then, like I said, you can do more if you want or less. It's totally up to you. But this is good practice. So I'm going to make this one up just a little bit higher so it creates more depth. So somewhere around here. This one's lower, so I'll make this one up here. Okay, and I'm just kind of picking a spot and going for it. Be brave. I'm just going to pull my way up. I'm going to get some of that water and mix it in with my black, actually. Remember, that helps you be able to move it a lot easier. Makes such a difference. This one is also a Y. It's a little bit shorter of a Y. So it's shorter here, and then my Y just starts. And that one's straight. Something along the lines of that. And then anytime, I always thicken this area at the bottom. Shrink, thicken that out. And while we have black, let's do our shadow. So here's our light. It's going to shine this way. So I'm just going to pull on an angle and then use my finger and blend it in a bit. Maybe to add some red on my other finger and just apply that so it's not super bold black there. Oh, hi, thank you. Maybe you guys can add it to your collection at home. I sometimes give them paintings. That's my dad. Okay, so now we're gonna add a couple little branches. So I'm just gonna make one here. I'm not overly thinking about it. I'm not gonna get caught up of where they are. I'm just thinking of the generalized V's Some can be straighter. They can be a little bumpy. Try to do the flick at the end to make them thinner. And the smaller the brush, the better, of course. Sorry, I know I'm blocking. If you get, like me, I made a mistake. So if it's like thick somewhere, see here, it got a little thicker. And here, I wanted to show you like what you could do if you made a mistake. You could take it and then you just pull it out more so it matches with the thickness. You would have to go down here and start to create a little bit of a wider tree to support the thicker branches above. Also, when we put leaves in, like that area, I just put a leaf there and then it'd be gone. So it's kind of cool. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. I learned how to paint by watching his videos and just practicing. I've been doing painting since I was a kid. I've always loved art in general. So, okay, so there's that one there. So then what I will do is I will start to do my leaf. So I'm just going to mix my green and my black with my Deerfoot tapping. I'm always tapping with this brush. Any of those frayed brushes for leaves, bushes, foliage, I tap. And I don't wet with water, I just wet with paint. Okay. So then, sometimes I tap on the napkin just once, just to make sure that my first tap isn't going to be like so bold. I'm just tapping upwards and across at the same time. I'm just going across, not overly thinking about it, just keeping it more random, just having fun with it. If you get a thick area, just bring it outwards. See that area that I had there? It's gone now. Be mindful of this little guy. You don't want to get too close to him, unless that's your goal, then you can. Sorry. The same as this side, I just taking that brush and I'm just moving it across, tapping along. Just like so. Sometimes you can grow it upwards, or like I said, if you have a thick spot, just pull it out a bit. And you can go into the middle as well. And like I said, just be mindful of this guy. Okay, and then I will highlight it now, so I'm just going to wipe off that black, and I'm going to dip into yellow directly. And then anywhere that's closer to this bright area, I will be highlighting the edges of the leaves. So I'm just doing just the edges, kind of like in between and on top. Just a little bit there. I need some more yellow because it's not quite showing. There we go. So I'm just highlighting just the edges of the tree. You can go a little bit into the middle. Anywhere you see like a leaf section, you're going to want to highlight. As it gets further from the light, you can just put less over there. Make sure you do leave your dark spots still because you want a balance of light and dark. Try to bring it closer so you can see it. I hope I'm in the screen. I was behind it, so I couldn't see what I was showing you guys. And then yeah, you can just kind of overall assess this side too. Like I'm just adding a little more on the edge over here just because now that it's drying, I can see where it might need a little bit more of the highlight. It's just not quite showing up. And then same down here, because this is the same technique, you're just tapping. So if you needed to add a little bit of yellow like touch-ups down here, you could. As long as you had black still in the brush somewhere, that's good. Because you don't want it to be like just direct yellow, because then it wouldn't look right with the rest of the painting, with the dusk type look. Okay. So all we have left to do is just to highlight our branches, and then we'll take an overall assessment of it, and that'll be all. So I'm just going to use that smaller brush with some white. And I'm going to highlight on my left where my light is, and I'm going to go on the edge. So I'm going to try to bring it closer without me blocking it. So sorry. Okay, so I'm just going on the edge. And that brings it back to life. I'm just, where my branches are, I'm just highlighting a little bit into the trees. You can just even just tap, because if you pull too much, you're just going to end up blending. So if you just tap some areas, then that helps too. What I'm going to do is wipe my brush, and then I would just pull across this white line, just a little bit here, just to give it some textured bark look. If you end up losing your black, don't worry, you can just put it back. Kind of rhymes. So cool. So if you lost black, then you can just take your black and, you know, maybe I'll add a little more black here again, just because. I always kind of wipe it off. Like, using less paint is better for this type of stuff. Sometimes people use palette knives for this, and then they just pull it across to create the bark. I have taught classes in the past where I have used like an old business card and then pulled across too. That's what I wanted to add, was a little bit of my like grassies. So I'm just using this small brush still, and I'm just going to pull up a little bit of grass just to pull this tree and ground this tree back into the ground, of course. So just like how we did on that side, just a little bit. Sometimes you can put a couple more up here if you wanted. You can put little grasses in other areas. I just make underneath of it flat. And if it was like too black, you can just rub your finger or just use a little red. And I just put some on my finger, and I can just put a little red there again. And that just helps to bring it back in, so it's not just so bold. Helps blend it. There. Like I said, you could put a couple up here if you wanted. Just you have to be very light and try to use the thinnest edge of the brush that you possibly can. Anywhere else you think you need to touch up. But that is all of my steps. So I will stick around for a couple minutes just to see if you have any questions. But that is all I have for you tonight. You can paint your sides black like I like to do. Or if you've been painting your sides the whole time, then that's cool too. Sometimes it's nice to just have white as well. Okay. So I would love, love, love to see your pictures, your end results. You can share them directly on my page if you just go right on my page and post on my wall. You can share your picture there. You can tag the class, tag the event. You could also post your picture in this event directly or in the comments in this video. And I would love to see them. It's my favorite part because then I know that I didn't paint by myself and talk to myself on this phone. So I hope you had so much fun. And let me know if you have questions. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to share my passion with you guys and to paint with you, to teach you, and also to make artwork for you. Like some people have been requesting for me to make them a painting based off a photograph of a landscape scene that they have enjoyed, say through travel or one of their places where they like feel calm and grounded and peaceful. I can bring you back there. You're so welcome. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can post that later on. If you're on replay, same deal here. You got to post it. Okay. Oh, thanks, Mom. You're welcome, everybody. Hope you had a great night. And yeah, if you're watching replay, just maybe hashtag replay. And that is all. So cool. I always have so much fun teaching you guys. So I will post a live soon for my next event. I'll probably keep it as a mystery because why not? I will provide the colors and the materials, of course, that you'll need. But I'm going to make it a mystery class for October. So maybe it'll be fall themed. Maybe it'll be Halloween themed. Who knows? I do have a children's art camp running at the Listowel Squash Courts. If anybody is local, then you can sign up for that. Ages 5 to 13, and that is a Halloween fall theme. That'll be there doing that in person, and of course all the safety measures are in place, so everything's all good there. And that's on the 17th of October. I'm also doing a talk about art and the overall benefits of it and mental health and correlation to that. I will be doing that in Listowel as well on the 25th of this month. So maybe I'll live stream it so then you can watch me if you're not in the area, just so you can learn more about how I got started with art and what it's brought for me and how it's changed my life and how it can help you as well. And yeah, like I said, I've been doing some commissions on the side and some private events on Zoom. I've done a birthday, so lots going on. And then just painting away. So I'm posting all the stuff that I'm doing. All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. And I will see you all soon, and take care. And bye for now.